AI is not just a trend, it's a transformative force reshaping the investment landscape. Imagine a world where AI predicts market shifts before they happen, offering investors unprecedented opportunities. In this short documentary, we will explore how AI is reshaping private equity strategies, accelerating value creation in our portfolio companies, enabling smarter real estate decisions, unlocking new frontiers in venture capital and innovation, and examine the new skills investors must adopt to stay ahead. This is how AI is reshaping markets and the strategies that lead them.
Whenever we look at an opportunity, we certainly assess how AI is gonna impact the business that we're looking at. We're gonna stay disciplined in the types of businesses that we look at, more traditional markets, more traditional business models, but AI is always gonna play a role.
AI will present a lot of opportunities to fast track the growth, the top line growth, improve your bottom line as well. And so you have to look at how to help your portfolio companies, your projects onboard as much AI as possible. Start small, but learn and then grow progressively.
Most of the adoption that we see, at least from our vantage point today, falls into three areas. The first is personalization of customer service in general. The second is operational efficiency, trying to create through automation and through AI and what have you, higher profitability margins from an EBITDA perspective to companies as they move forward. And the third is data analytics.
We really like to identify opportunities where you do have traditional businesses that we think can be vastly improved or markets that can be increased in size through the application of AI.
In business services, AI is accelerating speed, scale, and profitability.
Our area of expertise is obviously discovery services and litigation support. And that requires the working with outside counsel and in-house counsel to collect data, process data, host data, review data, produce data to the other side, and providing the technology and talent. Well, let me first say that AI is probably one of the most overused terms that is being beat around by everybody in the world out there. It's an attention getter. Everybody wants to say we do AI, and the reality is AI for the legal technology space in different forms has been around for the last 10 years. We've been using technology because the reality is data is growing at such a rapid rate across so many different platforms. 90% of the data that has been created in the last 2 years. AI is a complex conversation to have, and it takes practitioners that understand how to use the technology and apply it to specific workflows and data sets. We're finding that the inputs that you put into AI influence the outputs that you get. In other words, you've got to ask the right questions. But then in asking the right questions, if I have bias around my questions, am I going to get a biased answer? And so this is very early on, and lawyers in general are very cautious people. They're risk adverse. And so they really rely on what is proven and tried and accepted in the court system, as opposed to, hey, listen, we hear this new flashy thing about AI. Let's take the technologies that people are saying they have and that does these certain things, and then let's try them out.
Although legal tech has been around for over a decade, as Mark noted, the growing volume of litigation data is accelerating the need for technologies like AI to deliver faster and more precise outcomes. Meanwhile, on the other side of the world, fast-growing firms in the GCC region are applying AI to elevate their capabilities and customer experience.
Data flow is literally being used as a verb by many practitioners in the field, because you need to go through that process as a skilled worker to verify your background and credentials from a primary source. Now you can see the use of technology and the importance of technology in such a business in general, be it from an automation perspective and what have you. We quickly got into AI and we focused more on how do we speed up the verification process. And today with AI technology, we are able to identify 120 potential errors in a certificate, an undergraduate certificate or a graduate certificate. Literally 120 potential errors that would deem the certificate as not valid effectively. And that we call it the first line of defense.
We've seen how AI is transforming private equity strategies. But what about other investment strategies? In real estate, AI is enhancing portfolio diversity and performance.
I think like all sectors, the real estate sector stands to benefit from AI as an efficiency tool. Whether we're talking about operational efficiencies, whether we're talking about interfacing with tenants, we can all imagine how AI can speed up some of the frustrations with regard to tenant interface and speed up some of the operational inefficiencies on the expense side. All of that translates into better margins, and better margins is more value for investors. 3 key criteria are in each and every investment, and those criteria are sector tailwinds, limited supply, and sustainable tenant demand. And when those 3 factors come together, it results in rent growth. And it's that very rent growth that drives capital gain and, of equal importance, downside protection. And to translate that into data centers, limited supply comes in the form of power constraints, power availability, as well as entitlement risk. And the demand is really driven on the tenant side by corporate adoption of AI, mostly again on the deployment side. And so we see the future with data centers as being very much driven by the AI side of the economy. Tier 1 cities within North America, where we see high concentrations of Fortune 500 companies, is really where we get the thickness of demand for data centers. And in particular, where these data centers can create a web of connectivity that has high access to power, good connection to fiber. This is where AI deployment, it will be concentrated in the years ahead.
Next, we turn to venture capital and innovation, where breakthrough technologies continuously redefine the frontier. From quantum computing to humanoid robotics, AI is expanding the horizon of what's possible. In 2024, global AI startup funding surged to $130 billion, up 52% from 2023's $85 billion. And even with just one quarter of 2025, the pace remains intense, $80 billion in Q1 alone, powered by major megadeals. It's clear AI is the single most funded sector in venture capital, and that momentum is only accelerating.
We may be focused more on use cases from a private equity perspective, but as PE houses, we also see investing in startups from an AI perspective as an opportunity. So it's not only about the use cases, right? It's also about investing in this revolutionary technology.
It's an exciting time, but it's also a challenging time to work your way through the noise of what actually is going to happen in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, or what is hype. And that's something that with any new wave of innovation, it's very important that you come from the industry, that you really understand the landscape. And we truly believe with the right data and simulation, you can solve any problem, because that's what humans do. Like for drugs, it's essentially human simulation over 10 or 15 years to finally problem solve and figure out how to get a drug, to help humanity. Now imagine with simulation a million times over, with the power of quantum and AI, you could do that in a matter of minutes or hours. That's the world we live in today.
we were invested in a company called InstaDeep in London that helped BioNTech fast track the development of the COVID vaccine. And very interestingly, this company was able to look at the gene pool of the virus in a particular location, say London or Singapore, and was able to predict ahead of time which type of a variant would emerge out of that gene pool and how toxic and dangerous it would be to the public. Was able to inform both public authorities as to how to deal with it and get prepared for it, but also inform vaccine makers like BioNTech so that they could fast-track the development of a variant vaccine to better address the properties of these toxic variants. In fact, the company was able to predict the occurrence of variants and weeks to months prior to the WHO saying, "Oh, this is coming up."
You're going to see humanoids, more and more, kind of like when you saw the first car back in the day, and everyone was like, "Oh my gosh, look at that! Never seen that before." And then next year you saw half the town was driving cars, and then it went from there. That's what's happening with the humanoid space, and it fits perfectly into our thesis. It's deep tech, simulation, automation, AI. It's all the advancements in this wave. It wouldn't be possible without GPU power, like NVIDIA chips, and everything coming together. And that's something is really important to look at with when you're looking at a company. Is it's not necessarily always what, it's when. This company, because of the advancements of AI, Oxos, they came up with a handheld 10-pound a portable X-ray device that emits almost no radiation. One of our customers is the government of Kenya. And we all know in Africa that tuberculosis is an issue. Now imagine you have 3 million people in your country and you're trying to diagnose tuberculosis to the masses. It's impossible because about 80% of the world doesn't have access to X-ray imaging. So now you can take these devices out into the villages, out into the country, and immediately diagnose tuberculosis. They have it. So it's like vaccine level care to the masses, which was just not possible before.
Investors, businesses, and societies will have to develop new critical skills.
And business will taught processes, but in fact, the key skill going forward is going to be learn how to learn, right? Learn to adapt, be curious, right? Be trailblazing, don't be afraid of change. That's not easy. We have to rethink the way that we manage our corporate cultures. If your core competency has the opportunity to be transformed, augmented, or disrupted by AI, then it behooves you to actually begin to implement AI. Because if you don't, somebody else does it to you.
AI is no longer a future consideration. It's a present-day imperative. For investors and businesses alike, success will depend not just on reacting to change, but on anticipating it. The winners will be those who build AI into the core of how they think, operate, and grow.